Hi, and welcome to Code Corner. This is a video series we do at Mayfield Renewables where we talk about codes and standards as they relate to the solar and energy storage industries. Today we're going to talk some about the 2026 National Electrical Code, and specifically we're going to look at Article 702, which is optional standby systems, and then very specifically we're going to look at Section 702.4A3. So getting really specific on what we're looking at and talking about here. And this is all about the capacity and rating of our energy storage systems, or the inverters that are providing power for these optional standby systems. And it's an interesting thing, and there are some changes in 2026 that you should be aware of. And kind of it stems from, I would say, some ambiguity that was left from the 2023 code, and some of the ways that the interpretations were being made of that code. And so, as we talk about it, gonna kind of try and point to that and how the 2026 really addresses that and kind of helps pinpoint some of the capacity and rating requirements for our energy storage systems. Before we jump into the code stuff, I do want to point out there was a great article in Solar Builder magazine. So Chris Crowell had published this, written it with Charles Thurston, and so recommend taking a look at this, and really helps encapsulate kind of what the issue was and kind of how we got to where we were. And so you see this was published back in early 2025, and so stuff that was happening in late 24, starting to get these interpretations and things like that. And really what it boils down to is there was references in Article 706. So 706 is our energy storage system section or article, and there was this reference to Article 710, which is standby systems, to tell us how we should size our backup systems. And so if we're backing up loads, we want to make sure that we're properly backing them up. And there was a reference from 706 to 710, and it was very clear and kind of delineated that. And 710 gave us very clear guidance saying that your energy storage system, your inverter capacity and rating needs to be at least equal to the largest load that you're backing up. And so it was relatively straightforward. But what ended up happening was we started getting these references, and there's in some informational notes and in some explanatory material in the 2023 code, starting to get pointed back over to 702. Article 702 is about optional standby systems. And battery-based systems really, optional standby systems, that's what they are. They're not generally required, and we're putting them in to back up some loads that we want to have. So there's a good article in Solar Builder magazine. Recommend going and taking a look at this, go and finding the issue on their website, and just kind of seeing what that was and just kind of how the interpretations are going, and some input from some industries experts. And so it was a good article, and really what it came to is it kind of helped formulate this change in 2026 in terms of where the NEC landed. And so what we end up having is some language in 702 that directly addresses the capacity and rating of our systems. So let's take a look at that. If you want to take a moment, pause the video, read this language. It's worth a read. It might take a second to get through, and I'm not planning to read it word for word for you. But what you will notice here is, first off, we're talking about 1 and 2 family dwellings. So very specific for our application. And we have these multi-mode inverter-based systems, and we have this overload control functionality that is part of the listing. So PCS is power control systems, and so we have, our systems are getting listed to these, and they have this ability to have these different operating modes, and one of them is this overload control. What you will notice is, so it goes through and says that we have to have the minimum capacity equal to that setting. So if your inverter has a specific setting for overload control, the inverter has to be able to produce at least that much. Makes some sense that we need to have those kind of be aligned with each other. It does give us a reference to Article 130. For those of you that are super familiar with the code, Article 130, what the heck's going on here? Really what happened was in 2026, Article 750, which was power control systems, energy management systems, got picked up and moved into Article 130. So we had a change from 750 to 130. That's what that reference is for our for that new reference in 2026. And then it goes through and says that we need to, the rating is no less than the load posed by the largest single utilization equipment connected to the system. So there we're kind of getting back to that point, or back to that 710 section that we used to have, where it said your backup system has to be able to provide that largest load. So we're getting that kind of all of that information right there in this code article. And then it goes on to say, if we do have an overload condition, the reconnection shall be performed non-automatically. So we have to have human intervention to reset the inverter. So if power goes out at your house and you have a full home backup system and everything tries to kick on at once, and the inverter says, no way, I can't do that, and shuts down, the inverter can't just turn back on. So you're gonna have to go and go up there and reset it and be able to turn things off. The idea here is, if it went into overload condition, there's a reason for that. It's probably because you had too many things trying to run at the same time. And so we're trying to make sure that we're getting that human intervention and keeping things a little bit safer for when that system comes back on. So this whole section, this was added in the 2026. So you'll see it's in 702.4 A3. A1 and A2 were in the 2023 code and are still there. And you still have options. So you actually have an option to use a system that is completely controlled by power control systems, and you can control the loads and all that kind of stuff and not have to use this section. So there are ways of doing this, or having our energy storage systems multiple ways. This was just a very good way of addressing a very specific issue and this interpretation of 702.4. There are a couple of informational notes that are worth taking a look at, and really this is, multi-mode inverters. They're, primarily interactive systems, but we have that standby capability. And so we have these abilities for the PCS to CSAT operation. So again, just giving a little bit of background for people who, and especially authorities having jurisdiction, code inspectors, things like that, may not have a lot of familiarity with these systems, and they think about backup systems and generators, and that's kind of what they know because that's what they've seen a lot. So just helping give some of that information. And then it just tells a little bit, hey, here's what a PCS is doing. Just again, a little bit more background info to kind of help guide folks in that realm for those who may not be as familiar as folks that are in the industry. And real quick, just a visual on what we're talking about. So here is a type of system where we have a multi-mode inverter. So we have energy storage, a multi-mode inverter, and we are backing up some loads. And so what this is telling us is that the way that we are sizing that system is based on the listings and the ratings of the multi-mode inverter, and the capacity is based on those ratings. And then we also have that, we still have to make sure that whatever's in that backup load panel, we can supply power to that largest load at the same time. So a couple things we got to look at the same time. This image is also just showing an AC coupled system. It could be a DC coupled system. It doesn't have to be a PV system on there. The PV system actually doesn't even have to be there. It's not part of the backup system. It's not part of the multi-mode inverter, that kind of thing. So just making sure that we're clear on that. We're showing kind of a complete system here, but it's that multi-mode inverter. That's the key piece of where 702.4 is coming into play. So that's going to do it for 702.4. And I encourage you to take a look at our website. We have lots of other code corners on our YouTube channel as well. But we have lots of courses. So if you are looking to find some education on solar or storage topics, take a look and see if there's something that we might be able to help you with in learning about these different types of systems. And then finally, if you have questions, comments, always love to hear from folks. So here's ways you can reach out to us. If you have questions on this code corner, or if there are other topics you want to hear about, feel free to drop us a line. And I appreciate your time and look forward to seeing you at the next code corner.